Ian from RTO here. Welcome to another Marathon Wednesday. And today our guests on Marathon Wednesday are a viewer's request, and it's for the Dutch rock band Golden Earring. They've been around a long time. They were founded way back in 1961 in The Hague, and they were known as the Golden Earrings then. And it was formed by George Koolmans and his 15-year-old neighbour Rinus Gerry. They were called the Tornadoes, but they changed their name because of another band called Tornadoes had a big hit with Telstar, so they changed it to Golden Earrings. There've been a few people in the band, but from 1970 right up to 2021 the band was the same. Rinus Gerson on the bass, George Koolmans on guitars and vocals, Barry Hay vocals, guitar, flute and sax, and Cesar Zudovic on drums and percussion. But sadly on February the 5th 2021 the band's manager announced to the Dutch press that their active career was over due to a serious illness of George Koolmans. So they are no more, but what a legacy of music they left behind. I'm really into their early stuff, big time. So I was listening to some of them later stuff and I was surprised. Like most rock bands, they went through that period in the 80s and 90s where they just was trying to fit into music, and there are some shockers. But on the whole, I have found tracks on every album that I do like. So all I'll mention when it comes to people in the band are if there's extras come in. There's been a couple of people that have appeared on quite a few albums and come in and done sessions with them. They've got 25 albums, so we'll get started today because this is a long one. So coming in at number 25, we go to the 18th album, released in 1986, called The Hole. First track on this is called They Dance. That's alright, it's pretty funky for 1986, nothing wrong with that one. Quiet Eyes, it's got a nice guitar solo from George, pretty good, but that's all I can say about that track. The only highlight of that track is that guitar solo. Save the Best for Later, oh dear, that's not my cup of tea. Yeah, save the best for later. Yeah, don't put it on the album. No. Have a Heart. Unfortunately, this sounds more like Spandau Ballet than Golden Earring. Love in Motion. It's got a great riff, but again, guess what spoils it? If you haven't guessed, the 1980s sound. It's a shame because it's got a really strong riff, but everything else just sounds bit wishy-washy. Jane Jane, one of the better tracks on the album, but it's the drumming. What have they done to Caesar's drums? They sound like tin. Stop it. Jump and Run. Oh, this is just a bit of a filler. That's all I'll put about that one. Why Do I? Again, filler. It just doesn't sound like Golden Earring. But the best track on the album is the last track, A Shout in the Dark. Real rocker. Even with that production, it sounds really good. What can I say about this album? The production, that it spoils it. This is an album that they need to take back into the studio and remix and produce it properly. Because I think if they did that, it'd be a half decent album. So I can only give this an RTO ranking of 3 out of 10, I'm afraid. It's an album that I will never probably listen to again. Okay, then coming in at number 24, we'll get to 1989 now for the 19th album, Keeper of the Flame. Got some additional people on this one. We got Janton de Laaf on backing vocals and Tien Schmidt on keyboards. My Dutch is not very good, so if I've upset the Dutch, I'm sorry, but with all these J's and in the wrong place, it's very hard to pronounce. So the first track on this one is Can Do That. A little bit too funky for me. It doesn't sound like Golden Earring at all. Too much woman, not enough girl. Apart from being it'd be a good track if it hadn't been put down in 1989. That's all I'll say about that one. One Word, one of the better songs again on this album. Nice guitar work here from George. I quite like that one. Keeper of the Flame. It's just typical plastic 80s rock sound. It just doesn't do anything for me. Turn Around the World. This isn't too bad. I don't have a problem with that one. I like the production's the naff bit, but the actual arrangement is good. Circles. Even with that terrible 80s production, I'd say this is the best track on the album. Save My Prayer. Nice riffs on this, but again the drums and the actual sound is plastic. Distant Love, it's just a typical 80s rock ballad that's got no substance to it. Nighthawks, again another track that's just not my cup of tea. Killer My Shadow isn't a bad track. I've got no problem with that one. Again, this has got some really strong tracks on it, but what lets it down again is this production. Again, I think what they should do with these 80s albums, someone's got to, now that they've sort of packed it in, go back, look at some of these albums, take them into the studio and redo them, just like Dave Gilmour did with Momentary Lapse of Reason. But as this album stands now, it's not particularly a favourite of mine, and again, I don't think I'll listen to this one again. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 23, we have a covers album released in 1995 called Love Sweat. It's got some interesting covers on here, and some of them are pretty good. First one is When I Was Young. This is a really good version of the Animal song. I really like it. I've got no problem. Then we get a song called Darkness. It's a song by a band called Youngbloods. I had a quick listen to the original, and they don't do a bad version of it, to be quite honest. It's listenable, and it's a good song anyway, I think, and I think Golden Earring did it justice. Got to See Jane. Now this is a song by R. Dean Taylor. Never heard of them. I listened to the original. It's okay. It's not bad. Then we get My Little Red Book, written by Bacharach and Hal David. It was made famous, of course, by Manfred Mann. It's not a bad version, actually. I prefer Manfred Mann's, but I think this is a pretty half-decent version. Sail on Sailor. Why are you trying to do a version of a Beach Boys song? Beach Boys songs are unique. Unless you've got great harmonies and do it in the same style, it's not going to work, and I don't like it. Then we get a great little track. Remember this? Motorbiking by Chris Spedding. I think it's a really good version. I like the song anyway, and I think Golden Earring, this suits Golden Earring, this song, and it's really good. Then they do a version of I'll Be Back Again by the Beatles. Oh dear, cringed when I heard this. Then we get The Wheels on Fire, which was done by Rick Danko and Bob Dylan. And as I come across, going through some of these covers, when someone covers a Bob Dylan song, guess what? They do it a lot better. And they do. It's a very, very good version. Then they do a Ballad of a Thin Man, which was a Bob Dylan song, of course. And again, I like it. It's a better version. Then we get Collage, which was a song by Joe Walsh and the James Gang, and they do a damn good version of it. Then they do Move Over, Janis Joplin. Sorry, no one should ever attempt to cover a Janis Joplin song, period. And then we get Who Do You Love? It's a good song, and they do a pretty good version of it. And then the last track on this one is Turn the Page, the old Bob Seger number, and it's not a bad version of the Bob Seger song. There's one thing about this covers album: there are songs on here that no one else has covered, but as with most cover albums by bands, some tracks work brilliantly and some don't, as in the case on this album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Coming in at number 22, then we have the 21st album released in 1994 called Face It. This is a more of a acoustic sort of album, and we've got an extra person on this one. We've got Ton Masseurs on pedal and steel guitar on track 8. The first track on here is called Angel. It's a pretty good track. Nice acoustic rock track, don't mind that one at all. Hold Me Now, it's a nice ballad, very nice ballad, and the arrangement's really good. Liquid Soul, my favourite track on this album. Though it's acoustically, it's still rocky, and it's typical Golden Earring. Minute by Minute, some nice harmonica on here from, I think it's Mr. Barry Hay. It's pretty good. It's just stripped down rock. Nice piano in it as well. I like this. Johnny Make Believe, another great song. Very good, very pleasant to listen to. Then we get this little ditty called Spaceship. It's pretty good. The Unforgettable Dream. Again, it's just another typical style Golden Earring song that's been stripped down to the bare necessities. It's very good. I Can't Do Without Your Kiss. Not a particularly good song. I don't like that one. Freedom Don't Last Forever. I like the guitar work on this. It's got a nice atmosphere to it. Maximum Makeup. Again, a rocky acoustic number. Last one is Legalized Telepathy. Really good album track to end the album. This album, a little bit different, but it's very pleasant. It's got some nice songs on it, stripped down to the bare essentials. It's an enjoyable listen, and it's one that I'm added to my collection. I've even added the covers album to it because I do like some of the covers on it. Okay, coming in at number 21, then we go right back to the beginning, back to 1965 for Just Earrings, and they were called Golden Earrings in them days. And the lineup of that very first band was George Koolimans, Reiners Gerritsen, Jaap Elgermont on the drums, Frans Krassenberg on vocals, and Peter de Ronde on rhythm and guitar. Okay, first track on this one is a track called Nobody But You. It's a typical 60s pop song, really good, bit Beatley. It's a pretty cool track. I hate saying these words, again it's just pleasant 60s European pop. She May Be, I like this track a lot. It's got a catchy hook to it, very very good. Holy Witness, This reminds me of you can see where they got the idea of Face It from. This is that sort of style track. It's very, very good, and I enjoy that one. No Need to Worry, typical generic 60s pop. Please Don't Go, sounds like the Beatles. I Should Have Known, but who cares, it's still a good track. Sticks and Stones, another little catchy number. I'm a Fool. It's okay, it's just 60s pop, isn't it? And I've got no problem with that. Don't Stay Away. Now, this is my favourite track, and I think I know why I like this one. This reminds me of very early Status Quo, and I mean early. I'm talking Frilly Shirts Quo, because it's got that organ feel to it, and I love this song. It's great. Lonely Every Day. Well, this was heavy for 1965, but it's a good song. When People Talk, again, very pleasant. Then we have this short, sharp 60s pop song called Now I Have. Good way to end the album. On the whole, I think this is a pretty damn good album. If you like 60s pop rock, it's not a bad album to listen to. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, coming in at number 20. The second album by the Golden Earrings, released in 1967, called Winter Harvest. It's the only person that's missing there. Peter Duron's left, so you've got Franz Krassenberg on the vocals, George Koulimans on guitars, Rinus Gerritsen on the bass and piano, and Jaap Engelman on the drums. First track on this one is called Another Man in Town. Again, very 60s, but pretty cool. Smoking Cigarettes. It's 1967 now. Psychedelia's coming through, and of course these jump on the bandwagon as well, and it's a very pleasant, hoopy little track. In My House, again, very, very good track. I do like this early stuff. It's pretty 60s pop, but it's good. My favourite track on this one is this one called Don't Wanna Lose That Girl. There's some great guitar work, and it reminds me of an American guitarist, the legendary Chet Atkins. It's got that plucky feel to it, and it's a really good track. Impeccable Girl. I think they stole the riff from Elvis's All Shook Up, but it's alright. Tears and Lies, one of the tracks I don't like. Then you've got The Intention to Hurt Me. Pretty good, rocky. Great guitar solo from George. Belter. Then we get Dream. There's quite a lot of tracks on this one, and this is one of them that's a bit of a filler. You Break My Heart. Again, it's okay. Bit of a filler's track. Baby Don't Make Me Nervous. It's okay. It's not when you don't want to listen to it, but it's pretty good in places. That's all I'll say. Call Me. Again, one of them filler tracks on the album. Happy Young Together. Again, bit of a filler. Lionel the Miser. The rhythm is very Dwayne Eddy without the twang, and the vocals sound like the Monkees. It's a pretty good track. And then the last track on here is Will There Be a Tomorrow? Probably another filler. Like the debut album, it's very pleasant, and I have actually added these two to my library on Spotify now. They're going through the experimentation like a lot of bands in the late 60s. It is pretty good, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Time for a drink. Okay, coming in at number 19, we have the 20th album released in 1991, Bloody Buccaneers. We're back to that stable lineup now. So we've got Making Love to Yourself. A nice start to this album, this track. Really good riffs. Barry's vocals, even in 1991, sound pretty cool. Temporary Madness. Love that bass line from Minus. He's such a great bass player, and that's a thumper. Going to the Run, it's not too bad. It's got some nice keyboards on it. Joe, solid riffs, great vocal from Barry, great drumming from Caesar. Excellent track. Planet Blue, again we've got that lovely Rhinus bass line. It's the best bit of the track. Title track, Bloody Buccaneers, not the best track on the album, I'm afraid. One Shot Away from Paradise, not my cup of tea at all. They didn't mind experimenting to this band, and that one I don't particularly like. When Love Turns to Pain, like this one, some great guitar work from George on this. Nice arrangement, best track on the album, I think. In a Bad Mood, again, George's guitar work is superb on this. Highlight of this track. Pouring My dearie me. Pouring My Heart Out again. It's okay, quite mellow. This is one of those mixed albums from Golden Earring. It's got some good tracks, and it's got some, oh dear, what's gone wrong here? It's pleasant enough. It's a nice listen. Will I be adding it to the library? Probably not. But I'll give it an RTO ranking of 7.7 because I have some pretty cool tracks on. I might just pull the ones off that and put it into a playlist that I like. Okay. Coming in at number 18. This is their last album that they will release. It was released in 2012, and it is the 25th, and it's called, excuse my French, Tits and Ass. Their first album since 2003. Got some extra people on here. We've got Frank Carlino on guitar and slide guitar, and they brought in Jan Rumans on keyboards and Hammond, who does some backing vocals and tambourine. And bit of guitar on one of the tracks. So the first track on this one is called Identical. Love the riffs in this. Absolutely a cracking track. A little Time Bomb. Oh, this goes back to the heydays. That nice bass line from Rhinus again. Renus. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so if I've got it wrong, I'm sorry. But I do like his bass playing, and it's got some nice work from I think George. Pretty cool. Cool as it gets. Solid track. Barry Hay sounds great on this. And we get my favourite track, Acrobats and Clowns. Again, this really goes back to the good old days of Golden Earring. Love the guitar work on this. It's absolutely superb. What Do I Know About Love? One of the weaker tracks, I'm afraid. Still Got the Keys to My First Cadillac. Great title for a track. It's a nice rocker. Great little track. Dope Runner. It's alright. This Love. It's a little bit off really. Barry sounds a little bit flat on that, unfortunately. Stratosphere. This is just classic European rock from the 70s. It's a great track. Over the Cliff into the Deep Blue Sea. It's alright. Flowers in the Mud, again a little bit of a filler on this. Just in Time, again filler. It's not particularly fantastic. Avenue of Broken Dreams. This is good. It's got some nice riffs in this. Wanted by a Woman. Yeah, it's okay, but I wouldn't rave about it. Okay, solid enough album. It's got there's 14 tracks on this, and I think there's about 4 or 5 too many. But it was a nice way to end. The musicianship is still there. I think they were struggling towards the end with some of these tracks. If they'd have taken them, not put all these tracks on, I think it'd have been a damn good, fine album. But I'll still give it a 7 out of 8 because they have been consistent through their career. Okay, coming in at number 17, you go to 2003, and the album's called Millbrook USA. That's where they recorded the album, but they didn't release this in America for some reason. 24th album. Frank Carlino's on it again. Birgit Lewis singers do the singing, do some choral stuff. First track is called The Hammer of Love. Nice solid rocker, like that. Albino Moon, it's okay, bit country. It's alright. Skyscraper of Hell of a Town, favourite track on this, some really great riffs. A great strong vocal from Barry Hay, absolutely top draw stuff. A sound I've never heard. It's a very acoustic number and I like it. I like the sound on that. Better Off Dead, another one of these great little rockers from this album. Terrific stuff. Colorblind, bit of a filler I'm afraid. It's nothing special. On a Night Like You, again a bit filler. It's alright. Kingfisher, love this. I love the mixture of different sounds. You get acoustic guitars, electric guitars, and it's a very strong track. Really like that one. Coming in, going out. This reminds me of Smokey, so I do like it. Very good. The Thief, one of the weaker tracks on the album, I'm afraid. It's getting dark a bit in here. Let's see if we can put some light on here. Let's just touch that and see if that makes any difference. Come on. Oh well. We're going to have to sit in the dark, folks. Let's see if I can alter it later. The Thief, as I said, is pretty weak. Beautiful Blue. Another great rocker. I love the organ in this. Wow. I love rock and organ, I really do. Love Is a Loser. Again, a little bit of a filler track on here. And the Last Frontier Hotel, filler. It's just not particularly brilliant. As I said, this has got some really good strong rockers on this, but there's some tracks on there that are a little bit. But for the tracks that I like, I'm still going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.9. Okay, coming in at number 16, we go to the 12th album. And it's the second album they released in 1976. They released 2 in this year. It's called Contraband. This is someone that does appear on a few of their albums. It's a guitarist called Djangoline, and he appears on this one. First track on here is Bombay. Nice little rocker. Love Caesar's drumming on here. Absolutely brilliant. Suline, it's a little bit too country for me. It just didn't seem to work. Conman, it's okay. I like the guitar solo on here, but it sounds very much like the Doobie Brothers when they started going more funky. Well, I didn't like that. As you know, I don't like that style of the Doobie Brothers, and I don't like that track either. Mad Love's Coming. Again, a bit flat for me. It's not particularly great. Fighting Windmills, solid enough track. It's pleasant enough. Faded Jeans, love this. Strong riffs, great guitar solo, proper rock, absolutely great track. Time's Up, sounds a bit like the Rolling Stones, but I've got no problem with that. Solid enough album, but I don't think it's the best album they put out. On the whole, it has got some good tracks on, but I don't know if they've run out of ideas. I think it may be something that they released the 2 albums during the year. But for the tracks I like, I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then, coming in at number 15. Released in 1984, 17th album. Now it's N.E.W.S, but it's actually is also known as North, East, South, West, because there's full stops between the N.E.W.S. Clear Night Moonlight, very much in the vein of a track we'll talk about later called Twilight Zone. I like that one. When the Lady Smiles, take away that 80s keyboard sound which really grates on me, it'd be a good track. Make it just a rock track without that tacky keyboard from the 1980s. It'd be good. Enough is Enough. Again, Rhinus's driving bass line. Everything's good except the production on the drums. Fist in Glove, nice track, real rocky. Even the drums sound good. Okay in this. Orwell's Tears, heavy, really heavy. Even with the production, it's still heavy. It's absolutely good. Mission Impossible, it's okay. It's a little bit different. I don't mind different, and I can cope with that one. I'll Make It Up to You, don't mind this one. Nice guitars, and the drums sound pretty crisp for this one. N.E.W.S, I don't know, I just didn't get into that. It's Over Now, simple rock song, very simple and pleasant. Some really good songs on the air, but what spoiled it again is the drumming and the production from the 1980s. But taking all that into consideration, it's still got some really strong songs on it, so I'll give it an RTO ranking of 8.1. Okay then, coming in at number 14, 23rd album, released in 1999, Paradise in Distress. First track is Paradise in Distress. This is great, best track. Love the effects on this track, catchy tune, excellent. The Coppelics, bit of a filler, I just don't like that one. Evil Love Chain, love the drumming on this, stonking stuff from Caesar. Ferocious as well, very good track. Darling, very funky, too funky, don't like the one. Except the next track, Take My Hand, Close My Eyes, it is funky, but the bass line from Rhinus, it's terrific. It's great, that bass line, much better than the previous track. Then we get The Fighter, solid track, really good strong rocker, I do like that one. Then we get Night Without You, this is a bluesy rock number, nice riffs in this, strong vocal, good track. Whisper in the Crowd, bit of a filler, I'm afraid, it's mediocre. Deja Vu Voodoo, great bass line, and that's all I can say about it. Bad News to Fall in Love, solid enough track, great guitar solo. 42nd Street is a little bit different, going off on a little bit of a tangent into rock, soul-y stuff, is okay. Fluid Conduction, not a bad track, got a catchy tune to it. Desperately Trying to Be Difficult, solid rock track, nothing wrong with that one. Gambler's Blues, one of those sort of Aerosmith style bluesy numbers, pretty good track. On the whole, I like this album. It's one of their better later albums, I think. It's a good listen. I've listened to it a couple of times and I don't mind it at all, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.2. Okay then, coming in at number 13, we go to 1980 now. 15th album, Prisoner of the Night, but for some reason in the US the album was called Long Blonde Animal. Don't ask me why, but there you go. First track is actually Long Blonde Animal. Got a great riff in this. Bass line as strong as ever, thumps along, keeps the track going. Good track. No for an answer. Love this. Excellent track. Great riff, solid riff, catchy riff. Nice singing from Barry. Excellent track. My Town, again the riff is good. It's a variation of the last track, but it's still a great rock track. Title track, Prisoner of the Night. It's very gentle. Got a nice guitar solo, solid. I don't want to be with anyone else. Again, it's just a great little rock number. There's nothing wrong with that one. Cutting down to size. Love the bass line on this one again. Absolutely holds the track together. Will and Mercy. The solo on this is outstanding. George, what a guitar player. Very underrated, I think. Come Out of Outer Space. One of the weaker tracks. Going Crazy again. Very radio friendly, but it's got such a catchy hook. You can't not help like that one. Really good solo as well. Pretty good album, this one. Just because it's down at number 13 doesn't make it a bad album, but there are other albums that I prefer. There's just nothing wrong with this one, and I have added this one to the collection. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay, coming in at number 12. Go to the 16th album now. 1982, Cut. Joining the guys on this one is Robert Jan Stips on the synthesizer. Tell it's the 80s, can't you? The Devil Made Me Do It. Probably one of the worst opening tracks of any album I've heard. It's not very good. Future. For a 1980s track, it's pretty good. I like the arrangement on this. It is pretty good, solid. Baby Dynamite. Like this track again. It's quite mellow, but it's pretty good. And for an 80s track again, it sounds pretty good. Last of the Mohicans. Rhinus bass line there as ever. Solid riffs from George. Great guitar solo, solid. Lost and Found. It's got a country melody to it. Nice southern charm, as I call it. Then we get probably my second favourite track by Buccaneers. It's the brilliant Twilight Zone. I love Barry's vocal in this, and then George sings as well. It's a great track, classic track by Golden Earring. Love that track to death. Charging Up My Batteries, a very good track. Secrets, probably another filler. Okay, made in 1982, still very 80s, but it has got some really strong tracks on it, and for some reason the production's not as bad as other 80s albums. Obviously the highlights of this is Twilight Zone. It's a classic, and for that reason I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming in at number 11, we go to 1969 now, the 5th. It's the first album that they shortened their name to Golden Earring, and it's the only album that has got the drummer Sabe Warner on it. So it's George Kouliemans, Rinus Gerritsen, Barry Hay and Siab Warner. First track, Landing. This is a pretty good track. They've changed their sort of direction. They've gone away from this poppy sound to more of a progressive sound. It's great, great track. Next song, of The Devil's Servant. This is so Jethro Tull, psychedelic as well. Lovely flute from Barry Hay. I love that track. Solid. Then One Huge Road, another progressive track. Great track. Favourite. I love the great guitar work. Some of the drumming by this Sabe Warner is unbelievable on that. Super track. Every Day's Torture, prog rock, pure prog rock that is. Definitely changed their direction. It's pretty good. But what spoils this album is the last track. It's a cover of course, The Byrds, 8 Miles High, but it's 19 minutes long. If they'd have just kept it to its original length, brilliant. But it's too self-indulgent, and it just meanders, goes off into some sort of prog impro, and towards the end you start getting bored. Okay, this is a great album, but what spoils it is the 19 minutes of 8 Miles High. I think if that had been shorter, this album would have been far, far higher. This is one album I have got, and I love it. And I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.6. Okay then, reach the top 10. Time for some coffee. I mean, this is from 1969. And it was the last album that was released under the name Golden Earrings. Also the last album to feature drummer Jaap Engelmont, who went and became a producer. And if you think you've heard that name before, you're probably right, because this is the man that created Stars on 45. So this is the album called On the Double. It is a double album, and it was the 4th album release. So it's George Ceulemans, Rhinus Gerritsen, Barry Hay, Jaap Engelmont. First track is Song of a Devil's Servant. Great track. Like the vocals here from Barry. Excellent. Angelina. It's not. It's a filler. There's just nothing good about that one. Pam Pam Poop Loo. Jazz fusion. Alright. Hurry, Hurry, Hurry. A really good late 60s rock track like that. Lots of bongos on this one. My Baby Ruby. It's okay. I don't mind that one. Then we get one of these short pointless tracks called Judy. I don't know why we have these tracks on albums. They don't serve any purpose for anybody. Goodbye Mama. It's alright. Murdoch 9 6182. It's alright. Just a little bit of piece of my heart. Not a bad version. The Sad Story of Sam Stone. Very generic sounding from the pop bands of the 60s. Very Stonesy in placey. It's okay. High in the Sky. I love this. Great guitar work. Bit hoopy. There's nothing wrong with hoopy. Remember My Friend. Again, love this. Hammond organ, guitar solo, awesome. Time is a Book. A bit of a filler. Then we get Backbiting Baby. Favourite track on here. I just love that Hammond organ start. That's rich. And on top of that, you get a great George Ceulemans solo. I Am a Running. It's okay. I Sing My Song Again. It's just okay. Mitch Mover. Solid enough track. God Bless the Day. Love this track. Great rock track. Nice harmonies as well. The grand piano, as it says, there's lots of piano in this, but lots of strings. I think this is a really good album, but I think it'd have been better as a single album, because there's a lot of filler here that I don't particularly like, but the tracks on here that are the strong tracks are fantastic. Take them away, this track album would be higher, but because it's got some pretty insipid, bog standard dribble in places, I can only keep it at number 10. And for the tracks that I love, though, I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.7. Coming in at number 9 then. Go to the third album, 1968, Miracle Mirror. First album that included Barry Hay. So it's George Coulimans, Rhinus Gerritsen, Barry Hay and Jaap Engelmont. First track, The Truth About Arthur. I love the start of this. It's a bit space rocky as well, I do like that. The Circus Will Be in Town a Time. Pleasant enough, nothing wrong with that one. Crystal Heaven, a really good track, nicely written track. Drumming's pretty cool at the start. Sam and Sue, Hello, one of these short nonsense things, but a great little guitar solo. I've Just Lost Somebody, nice harmonies in this one, very psychedelic, excellent track. My Fortune's Wife, very 60 pops track. Who Cares? I like the harpsichord at the start of this, it's pretty good. Interesting sound, the harpsichord. Again, the keyboard coming, I like the keyboard in this way, it keeps coming in and out of the track, very good track. Favourite one. Born a Second Time, a nice little acoustic number here, very gentle and very good. The Magnificent Mangstrel, 60s pop. I Must Cry, nice track, don't mind that one. I like the vocals on here, they're very echoey. Adds to the track actually. Then we get Nothing Can Change the World of Mine, one of the weaker tracks on the album. Then we get Gypsy Rhapsody, bit of a filler, the brass doesn't fit. So a solid album with a few misfits on it, but it's a pleasant enough to listen to. I'll give it an RTO ranking of 8.7. Coming in number 8 then, 11th album, released in 1976. It was the first they released of 2 in 76, and it's called To the Hilt. Got some extras on this one. Robert Jan Stips on the keyboard, Chris Mercer saxophones, Echo Gellins back on the guitars, and Bertus Borges on saxophone. First track is Why Me. Love Caesar's drumming on this. I love that funky keyboard in it as well. And Mr. Stips. Face Dancer, solid rock. I love the riff in that. Strong riff. To the Hilt, solid track. Great riff in that one. Nomad. This is very progressive. It's got the Middle Eastern mystique sound to it. Pretty cool track. Sleepwalking. Awesome track. Funky bass in this really works with the drumming. Excellent. Latin Lightning, although this is quite fun to hear with the sax, it's pretty cool. And then we get this really long track called Violins. It's a bit progressive with a bit of funk and jazz. Excellent track. Solid. I would say out of the 2 albums from 1976, this is the better one. Full of freshness and soul in it, and I don't know if they sort of on Contraband they sort of got a little bit bored but this has got some funky stuff on it, and it's a real enjoyable album. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay then, coming in number 7, got the 10th album from 1975, Switch. We've got some extra people on here again. We've got the return of Robert Jan Stips, Bertus Borges on the saxophone, and Ileko Gelin on the guitar. First track on here is called Intro plus Minus Absurdio. Really good track. I love the guitar work in this. Nice arrangement. Love Is a Radio. Very good track. Love the rocky guitar, and I love the keyboards in this from Mr. Stips. Solid track. Then we get the jazz, the Switch, which is a jazzy, funky fusion chime. Very European. Bit weird for me though. Then we get a classic. Kill Me Ce Soir. Absolutely belting track. Iron Maiden did this on a B-side of one of their singles, I can't remember which one, and they did a good cover, but of course this is the best version. Love the guitar work in this. It's a belting track, and Barry Hayes' vocal is superb on that. Tons of Time, another good track. I think the two guitarists on this work well together with the keyboard. It's a pretty solid rock track. Daddy's Gonna Save My Soul, solid enough track. Nothing wrong with that one. Pleasant rocker. Troubles and Hassles. The riffs are great in this. We got a lovely piano that comes through this, in and out of the track all the time. Excellent. Lonesome DJ. Great little rock track. Excellent stuff. A really strong album. I've got this one. I play this quite a lot. There's not a bad track on here. Even the weaker ones are pretty good. It's a very good album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.9. Okay, coming in number 6. Released in 1979. 14th album. No Promises, No Debts. Got a guest on here. We've got John Legrand on harmonica. So we got first track, Heartbeat. I love the opening riff of this. That chunky guitar. Absolutely solid. Need here, again, solid, great riffing. Selling Out, again, solid. Really good riffs on that one. Then we have one called Snot Loving Spain. What a title. I love it though. It's weird, it's wonderful, and some great harmonica on it. It's pretty good. Save Your Skin. Got some flute here from Barry. Nice sounding flute. Very Ian Anderson style flute. Pretty cool. D-Light. Good little solid rocker. Tiger Bay. It's starting to get a little bit filler here. It's not brilliant. Weekend Love, acoustic track, pretty good. It's actually my favourite one on the album. It's a little bit different, so I really like that. One of my favourites. Sorry, not my favourite. Don't Close the Door. Got some nice solos, but that's about it. Don't Stop the Show. Great opening riff. Great drumming on that. By Roots. It's a nice instrumental, and it is the best track on here. It's crisp. It sounds brilliant. Very good album. Some solid, strong tracks on this one. I've added this one to the collection as well, actually. It's got a couple of weakies on it, but it's still a great listen. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 5, we go to the 7th album, released in 1971, 7 Tears. Opens up with Silver Ships. Now the start of this is very Pinball Wizard. Then it goes off into its nice little thing. Another great Rhinus bass line. Got a bit of flute in this. Very, very progressive. Excellent track. The road swallowed her name. This is amazing. So gutsy, heavy. Great guitar work in this. My favourite track. Hope. This is a nice gentle track. Really good vocal from Barry. And you get a really strong sax as well, which Barry plays. Absolutely brilliant. It's a pretty cool track. Don't worry. I love that basic piano at the start of it. It just adds the track and then it goes into this nice little track. Excellent. She Flies on Strange Wings. Another great track. Very progressive in parts. Pretty solid. This is The Other Side of Life. Very psychedelic. I think it's an excellent track. You're Better Off Free. Love this. Love the guitar solo on this. One of George's finest. And that keyboard that runs through it gives it a bit of depth. Excellent track. Again, I've got this album. It's an excellent album. Played a lot. Strong. Great tracks on this album. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9.2. Okay, coming in at number 4. 13th album, released in 1978. Grab It for a Second. Got some extras on this one again. Eco Gellin's here again. Lanny Groves backing vocals. Jimmy Mallon on percussion and Kevin Nance on keyboards. Also John Zangrando on saxophone on Against the Grain. Roxanne, nothing to do with the police. It's a solid rocker though. Great track to open the album. Leather, nice bluesy rock track here with a great guitar solo. Tempting, short, sharp rocker with a thumping bass line. U-Turn, Time, another solid track with a fantastic guitar solo. Moving Down, Life, another great track. Nice riffs. Again, it's short, sharp, does what it says on the tin. Against the Grain, my favourite track. Very acoustic sounding. But what makes this track is the saxophone from John Zangrando. Absolutely belting, really adds to the track. My favourite track on the album. Title track, Grab It for a Second, solid rock track. Cell 29. Probably the weakest track on the album, but it's not bad. It's just a little bit weak in places. What I like about this album, it's very short, sharp tracks. Little gem of an album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.3. Okay then, top 3. Ooh, this was hard. These are the 3 albums that I play a lot. It was just hard to put these together, but finally done it. That's why it's taken a little while to get this ranking out, because this was the bit was holding me up. So coming in at number 3, released in 1970, the 6th album. First album was Cesar Zudovic as a member, and then from this album onwards it's been the same 4. Self-titled Golden Earring. The fans often referred this to as Wool of Dolls. Wool of Dolls due to the cover art. Why? I don't. I call it Golden Earring. Yes. Yellow and Blue. Love this track. Very Led Zepp 3. With the flute. Terrific track. The Loner. Love this track as well. The riffs. Just great. This is Your Time of the Year. You get this at the start of it, you get this nice gentle rocker, nice acoustic sounding strength. Oh, this is pleasant, and then boom, we go them strong riffs. Makes it a great track. Best track on the album next is Big Tree Blue Sea. So much like a Jethro Tull track of the time as well. Great flute, love this, absolutely brilliant. Wall of Dolls, love the drumming on from Caesar on this, he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Back Home, more driving riffs, some great drumming and flute work here, love this track. Then we get CC, really good track, excellent bongos in this, great guitar riffs, great solo. I'm going to send my pigeons to the sky. Heavy, heavy, heavy track. Thumping drums on here, driving riffs. Just how I like my rock. And the last track, As Long As the Wind Blows. Love the bass line in this. Best bit of the song, holds the song together. Oh, great little rocker. Solid album from top to bottom. It's got that mixture of rock and progressive rock. Very underrated album this is, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9.4. Okay then, coming in at number 2. Go to 1972 for the 8th album, Together. All Day Watcher. Again, this opens up with a great track, with a guitar solo that's just brilliant. Love listening to that one. Avalanche of Love. I always love songs that go straight into like a guitar solo. There's something about it, and this is no exception. It is a very, very good track. Cruise in Southern Germany, solid track. I like the riff. You got a nice sort of rhythm guitar, and the riffs keep coming in and out of it. Absolutely brilliant track. Brother Wind. This has got lots of guitar overdubs from George, but you need it. It's great. And a ripping keyboard. Love it. Buddy Joe, another strong song. Solid. Can't get any better than that. Then you get Djangoline. I love this. The acoustic guitar really sets this off. And then you just go into this rock with harmonica. The solo's fantastic. All round great track. From Heaven and Hell. Now this is one of them tracks that go through different moods and atmospheres. Barry's vocal is great. So you can really hit them high notes. Whoa, crisp. Great track. Last track, 1,000 Feet Below You. This album finishes as it starts with a nice punchy rocker. Another stunning album. I do love this era of Golden Earring. Put out some of their best albums, and I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9.5. So we've finally reached number 1. This was the first Golden Earring album I ever brought. I brought it for one track only, because I couldn't get the single, so I thought to buy the album, and my love of this sort of Golden Earring started from there. Well, I didn't get this album until what? I would have been about 17, but I've always loved the track on this. I had it on a cassette that a friend done, and I played it to death. And when the cassette snapped, I had to go and buy it. So we're talking about Moontan, released in 1973. It's the 9th album. Got some extra people on here. We've got Patricia Pay on backing vocals. Bertkus Borges is back on the saxophone, and I think this is the first time we have Eco Gellin, who plays slide guitar on an awesome track. Okay, first track on here is Candy's Going Bad. The guitar effects on this are just amazing. George's guitar work on this is absolutely out the top drawer. This is a great rocker. Are you receiving you? Are you receiving me? Sorry. It's all about that bass line from Minus. And then you get some delicate touches on the drums from Caesar. But the highlight of this is Bertus Borgia's saxophone solo. Truly brilliant. Then we get Susie Lunacy, in brackets Mental Rock. Great guitar solo on this. But I do like the acoustic guitar, it sounds really good in this. And then we reach probably one of the greatest classic rock tracks ever. Radar Love. I remember hearing this when it first came out and I loved it. What do I love about it? The bass. That boom 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 boom. This is just a classic song, and it'll be a classic for the whole of its existence. People will be still listening to this in another 50 years' time. That's how good it is. I love it. And that's why I had to go and buy the album, because I kept playing this track on this cassette. Wore it out. Then we get Just Like Vince Taylor. Solid track. Love this track. Just solid rock. Then we get a track that the last track on the album. It's one of those tracks I don't think many people know about. It's called Vanilla Queen. This is a progressive rock song, but what is really good about it, it's got two samples of Marilyn Monroe's character in There's No Business Like Show Business. It goes, well, simple, well in simple English, and then from Lazy at the performance, What's Your Name, Honey, from Heatwave. It just adds to this track. It's a fantastic track, probably one of my favourite tracks by the band. And I think if it weren't for Radar Love, this would be one of my favourite tracks, behind Twilight Zone and Ce Soir. Definitely a top 5 track, Vanilla Queen. This album, when I first brought it, I brought it because of Radar Love, and when I listened to the whole album, I fell in love with it. It is very underrated, I think. It's always overlooked because of other albums that were coming out in 1973. But to me, this is one of the truly great albums from that era. There's not a bad track on this album. It's solid, top to bottom. I'm going to stick my nose out on this one. I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 10 out of 10. Because it's an album I can listen to every day. But I don't. But what I mean is, I every time I put this album on, I love listening to it. Gives you a good buzz when you finish listening to this. Well, that's Golden Earring. I think they've had a real solid career. And listen to some of them later albums. There are some tracks that were a bit wishy-washy, but on the whole, they haven't changed their way of writing songs. I did think some of the production let them down when it thing, but when the last couple of albums were really strong again. Okay, well, that's all for today. Tomorrow, being Thursday, means we're doing Then and Now, which is the let's look at a artist and do basically a bit of history on an artist. Tomorrow we're doing the boss himself, Mr. Bruce Springsteen, one of my favourite singers. And then tomorrow's artwork, another one for the Quo fans. We've looked at album covers, we've talked a lot about their albums and that, but we're going to look at some of their single covers, and I've picked my favourite 20 single covers from Status Quo. And then tomorrow night, round about 8-ish, we've got another live stream. I've got something I'm going to be doing, not just yet, but there's a little thing I might tell you about what I'm thinking of doing. So that's all for today. Have a great day. Hopefully this will go up before midnight, but you know what, the upload round where I live is pretty naff, but that should change all next week because we're going to super fibre. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care for now.